Small one. Shit. Oh my. Oh my. I don't know what having out over here. Oh shit. No. Oh. Okay. 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 I forgot what you're doing. What? Why is that working? Okay. I mean, I need to go up higher. Ah, push it. Ah. Yeah? You should take my pencil back. Okay. Yeah. How do you go? Okay, it's everywhere. Okay. Oh, hold on, so it hurt. Here. Are you making me shit?
Yeah.
Awesome. Hey! Put it together. We're done. Do you want this? You keep going down. Here, I need the mouse. I keep going down. If I'm off, I'm so sorry. It says I don't know why, but I am. What are you doing? Pussyfoot?
Me?
Yes, you.
I said that.
Ugh. Why you taking a picture over there? My daughter drives me crazy. She's beautiful. She is. Who knows? Yeah, that TikTok, bitches. Yeah, sorry. I shouldn't say that. This is for kids, though. Yeah, I do have a TikTok. Called. You always need to go pee. TikTok Small 102. I should do my video. Hold on, I need to go pee.
Early 1970s, and
Okay.
this sent Marshall into like a really deep depression. He was really close to his father and devastated when his father passed away, and he just wasn't doing well. He was not. It was said at some point Marshall ended up staying at a psychiatric hospital for a bit of time. While staying at the psychiatric hospital, that's where he met a woman named Bonnie Nettles. So who is Bonnie Nettles? Well, let me tell you a little bit about her now. I don't know why it's not playing right now. Right. Bonnie Nettles, she was born in 1927, also in Texas, and she was born into a Baptist family. She would go on to become a registered nurse, and then she also married a successful businessman named Joseph, and this was in 1949. The two of them would go on to have 4 children together, and their marriage seemed all good, all dandy, until about 1972. It was said that the marriage between Bonnie and her husband began to fall apart when Bonnie's belief that the 19th century monk named Brother Francis often spoke to her, gave her instructions on like what to do in life. She was listening to this monk in her head. Bonnie would become very interested in conducting seances with mediums in order to connect with spirits, people who are dead. Started as like a little hobby, you know, an interest, and then it just kind of like consumed her life. So her husband is like, dude, what are you doing, you know? In 1972, Bonnie went on to see multiple different psychics who told her that she was going to be a man tall, with light hair, and a fair complexion, and that she needed to go with this person. So Bonnie's like, oh yeah, okay, so I gotta look out for a tall man, light hair, with a fair complexion. Look out. Bonnie is working as a nurse, and guess what? She's working at the same place that Marshall is staying at, the psychiatric hospital. So she sees Marshall, and oh my god, he's tall, has light hair, and a fair complexion. Bonnie then did an astrological reading for Marshall, and while doing this, she found out that both of their stars were aligned in some kind of way, which meant that they were supposed to be together. She found an alignment between the stars. So the two of them ended up connecting, and they felt like they had met her. So while Bonnie is working as a nurse and Marshall is a patient, they're just forming a relationship. He knew that she was married, but the stars were telling them they were meant to be together. So, and they ended up leaving the hospital together on New Year's Day, 1973. Bonnie ended up leaving her children behind with their father. One of them was like in his 20s. I think he just kind of just went on his own. Bonnie was ready to start her new life with Marshall. So Bonnie and Marshall, they were off to complete something. I mean, that was their goal. They just knew together that they could conquer anything. Bonnie and Marshall, they decided that they wanted new names. So they went by the name Bo and Pete. Bonnie was Bo, Marshall was Pete. So they ended up taking a 6-month-long road trip across the United States. Goals. While they're traveling and stuff, they're really just kind of going over their beliefs and what they think the meaning of life is, you know? And they want to spread their message, which I'm not even quite sure what their message fully was, but that's fine. They want to spread it. So in 1975, Bonnie and Marshall, they gave a presentation about Heaven's Gate in Oregon, and they were giving out flyers that was a mix of like conspiracy theory, science fiction, and it kind of seemed to be a improvement form on this paper that they were handing out. At the top it said UFO, just big letters, you know, just really grab them at the beginning. UFO. But the flyer had 2 paragraphs of information on Heaven's Gate saying, quote, 2 individuals say they were sent from the level of travel around and give little presentations promoting Heaven's Gate, but at this time it was called an individual metamorphosis. But overall, it would suggest that a UFO was coming to save the cult members and take them away, and they would elevate them to a new world and a better life. And they called this Tela, which stood for the evolutionary level above human. They would have a group of people attend their events, and it was said that one in Oregon had about 200 people attend. So they would hand out these flyers, try and get like promotion. They would meet and give their spiel. So after having 200 people show up to these presentations, only a small amount would follow up afterwards and actually end up joining the group. So Bonnie and Marshall were able to convince people to leave their homes and belongings and travel with them around the country for over 2 decades. The members didn't have like a real home at that time, and they lived in extreme poverty while they traveled around. So they didn't really need anything. They just needed somewhere to sleep and maybe a little bit of food to eat. But they were making these sacrifices because they truly believed what Bonnie and Marshall were preaching, that aliens were coming back to the planet to take them away and just live this amazing afterlife. Many of the followers gave up their conventional lives and were seeking spiritual answers to many of their old questions. Like, what am I doing here? What's the meaning of life? Where am I going? Those questions that nobody has an answer to. I ask myself that all the time. Then he found Heaven's Gate attractive because of the blend of self-discipline, science fiction, unity, and it had some Christian thinking in there as well. It kind of sounded like, honestly, kind of like Scientology, but it kind of does. There's a Scientology center down the street from us. Actually, there's a couple, okay? And we went one time because I wanted to go investigate. We went. I brought Fernando with me, and we filled out the questionnaire thing. And I was trying to like make it seem like I was interested, but really I just wanted like the inside scoop. See, what happened was Fernando was taking it too seriously, and I was like watching him kind of fall for it. And I was like, okay, we gotta go. You have to fill out like all this paperwork that says like your name and all that, so they can do a follow up with you. I'm smart. Hello, hi, and I put down a fake name and stuff, right? I put down a porn star's name. So I was like, Google me. Was that mean? No, it's a cult. And that's my story about Scientology. Anywho, so let's get back to the story. So, some would say it was like Christianity, but in a modern, updated way. And people just really related to it. I just feel like these people were just kind of maybe questioning things and where they're at in life and just kind of feeling lost. And that's probably how they got suckered into it. Bonnie and Marshall were said to be so nice, loving, and charismatic. Did I say charismatic? So people just like were attracted to it. So for example, Heaven's Gate taught that Mary, Mary from the Bible, so she actually was impregnated by being taken up into a spacecraft. That's where she got pregnant. Now it sounds silly to us, but many thought it was more believable than just plain she was a virgin and she got pregnant. So anytime a new member would come into the group, this new member would have to abandon their family. They would have to turn over any and all of their money, and then they were asked to cleanse their bodies of the impure influence of things like fast food and impure sexual thoughts. On this cleanse, they would drink nothing but the mix of lemonade, cayenne pepper, and maple syrup. They would have to do that for 3 months in order to cleanse themselves before being like an official member. If they didn't cleanse, then they couldn't be welcome into the group. So Bonnie and Marshall, they actually told their followers that they would be visited by aliens, provide them with bodies. So they believed that their body, again, was going to ascend to the spaceship. Once they were up there, that's when they would get their new bodies. They, again, would live this fantastic afterlife. But later, they would kind of change the script. I don't know if you know that, but I guess you can. There's like no rules when it comes to religion. So I guess that applies to people. Do cults qualify for tax exemption as well? Great question, actually. So he changes the script a little bit, and he's saying now that their bodies were just containers of their souls, which would be later placed into new bodies. So your soul would leave you, and your soul would enter a new body. I mean, that one kind of sounds convincing, right? I'm lifestyle and covered all of their windows whenever they were renting a home. They wouldn't be allowed to talk about it. The first rule about Heaven's Gate is you don't talk about Heaven's Gate. At this time, they had about 40 members, so good size. In Texas, they told their followers that a forthcoming visitation from aliens was happening and instructed them to go wait outside all night. They needed to wait outside so the spaceship would beam them up. And I know. It's like, well, why are these that's the interesting thing about Minecraft. So the cult members are standing outside all damn night. And then eventually, once the night had ended and it was becoming morning time, that's when Bonnie and Marshall informed the members that there were no aliens coming and it was just a test of faith to see if they were loyal. Doing this was increasing their students' devotion and also helping them get rid of the people who were not devoted, right? But it made them realize how control and power they had over their members. Then there's this, so every so often they would test. They were probably out of ideas and needed to keep people entertained. But yeah, just
Oh,
go
okay.
outside,
I know what that
stand
is.
there.
Okay.
It was said that the members were becoming
Right there.
desperate for Marshall's approval. They would do anything, just go above and beyond anything that they could do to make Marshall like them. It was getting a little competitive, and honestly, Marshall liked that. In 1980, the group had about 80 followers. Many of them held working jobs with computers or as car mechanics. Bonnie and Marshall would allow the members to call their family once in 1982, and in 1983, they actually allowed the followers to visit their families on Mother's Day, like actually leave and visit their followers, and visit their parents' family, sorry. So they left and they visited their families on Mother's Day, which this was like never allowed. They were never allowed. Well,
Let me pause it.
could leave, but could you really? It was one of those. Like, you can leave, doors open. They were instructed to tell their family that they were studying computers at a monastery. These vacations, quote unquote vacations, were intended to make families less angry by demonstrating that they were staying in this group on their own terms, that they wanted to be there. They're studying computers, they're at a monastery. How dare you question me? It was more just to let the family members know that they're alive, they're good, they want to be there, and they're happy, which I'm sure gives a lot of family members peace of mind. They had no idea what was to come. Over the years, several hundred people, they joined the group, then left, and in the early 1990s, the members were only down to 26, which is still a lot, but, they were at a high, like 80. They wanted that bad. I also forgot to say that Bonnie and Marshall, they were equals in this group as the leader. They both wanted to be there. I'm so upset. They both wanted to be there. And Bonnie was technically the brain. She was like the smart one. She would make the posters. She put all the outline together, what they were preaching. And then Marshall was speaker. So in 1983, Bonnie, she had to have an eye removed due to cancer, and the doctor informed her at that time that the cancer was spreading and it was going through the rest of her body, and that she either needed to get treatment for it, or she was gonna die because it was getting everywhere. But Bonnie truly believed that her doctor was ignorant and that she could not die, which is very interesting actually. I just thought of this, but she was a nurse. So you think she would, I don't know, believe her doctor? Oh, interesting. I just now thought of that. Anywho, so the cancer ended up continuing to worsen, and Bonnie ended up passing away in 1985. Now, this was not good for Marshall. Marshall was devastated. He lost his wife, his partner. I'm sorry, they weren't married. He lost his partner. He told the group that her broken down vehicle was left behind, and that she had ascended into the spaceship. Because of Bonnie's passing, it turned the cult's beliefs into that human bodies were just vessels or vehicles, and that they were carrying them on their journey and could be abandoned at any time. So now the view had changed that you can leave your vehicle at any time versus having to wait for the aliens to be left. So it keeps evolving. In May 1993, the group rebranded and took the name Total Overcomers Anonymous. They spent $30,000 to publish a full-page advertisement that warned the people of a catastrophic judgment to befall the earth. Hold on. Now, because of this publication, it brought some new members to the group, and that was like the overall goal. They wanted more. In the 90s, the internet was new, the World Wide Web. You can connect people anywhere on the planet. In the beginning of the internet, there were only so many websites you could go to, and it's like brands and companies and stuff weren't really using it to its fullest potential yet. But Heaven's Gate was actually on top of it. They were like, hey, we're going to build a webpage and reach more people. So again, in the 90s, they had 39 active cult members, and these members made web pages for businesses and had a web design firm called Higher Source, along with a few others. But these members used the money they had made from online business to rent a mansion in a gated community just outside of San Diego. Marshall was realizing for the first time the possibility of suicide as a way to reach the next level. So that's the goal. They wanted to reach the next level because it was going to be amazing. It's going to be everything and more. So that's what they wanted. So this is when he started to realize, hey, we can just abandon our vehicles, commit suicide. And he introduces this to the group as well, because he hadn't mentioned suicide before. So Marshall explained to the group that everything human had to be left behind, including the human body, before one could ascend. So we went from having to be beamed up by aliens, now you have to kill yourself before you can ascend. And once again, this time the group was named Heaven's Gate. The group increasingly focused on the suppression of sexual desire. Several of the members opted for surgical castration. There was an ex-group member who said that Marshall didn't say they had to do it, but the group members wanted to do it just to prove to Marshall once again that they were loyal. So they did it. Surgical castration. That's some dedication right there. Now, Marshall viewed sexuality as one of the most powerful forces that bound humans to their bodies and hindered their efforts to evolve to the next level. So, in addition to required members to adopt similar clothing and haircuts to reinforce that they were a non-sexual family, they weren't allowed to participate in any sexual acts. They weren't even allowed to think sexual thoughts. Like, it was heavily frowned upon. October 1996, the group had been renting a mansion in Rancho Santa Fe, California, close to San Diego. It was a big old house. I don't know how they afforded it, because I thought like they were barely making it, but they were renting some big mansion. Pieces are not adding up. That year, they recorded 2 video messages in which they offered their viewers a last chance to evacuate Earth.
What?
And they uploaded it onto
What?
their website. They had their own dedicated website. Members, they uploaded this thing, like, chance to evacuate Earth. It's going to happen around the same time.
Dad, I hear you.
They left little bags, like little pouches, which had their ID and whatever money they had left. That way the bodies could be identified. So all of the family members were contacted, sadly, and they had to get the news that their kid or their brother, their sister, their partner, whoever it was in this and killed themselves. A lot of people just wanted to know, like, why wouldn't these people just leave? Why wouldn't they know better than to believe this spaceship stuff? And a cult member who left said that Marshall isolated the group socially and cultivated an attitude of complete religious obedience in them. Many of the students had made a long-term commitment to him, and many had been around for about 20 years. Marshall was said to be extremely charismatic and a master manipulator. He built trust and fear into his followers to the point where they had no reason to question him. What he was saying was true to them, which can be extremely hard to understand, and it is hard to understand. They were loyal, and by committing suicide, it was demonstrating that they had conquered the fear of death and showed their faith in Marshall and the overall religion. So that is the story about Heaven's Gate. We can all say, oh, they were all brainwashed. I hate that answer because it's more complicated than that. It is. It's not just you're brainwashed. It's weird. If you've ever been in a controlling or an abusive relationship, it's like that where you just don't leave. I don't know. Unless you've been in it, it's so hard to explain. But I don't know. I get why the people were stuck in a way. I don't know. I have such mixed feelings about cults. Because
Yes.
I know there's probably a few who don't necessarily want to be there, but they're kind of stuck there. Then there's people who truly want to be there. And it's like, how do you tell the difference between somebody who doesn't want to be there and there's like, I want out, and the people who want to be there? And if they want to be there, should we just back off and let them be?
Okay.
We have to live
Bye-bye.